Hi everyone, welcome to the next video for the journey of a Northeast entrepreneur, and I'm Sam Spoors. So another week has gone by here at Talent Heads, and another week has gone by with the usual trials and tribulations of establishing and growing a business. So I've got quite a lot that I could share for this week. Actually, two major things have happened. However, I'm going to choose one over the other just because I really want to try and make these videos quite manageable for those people who have got really busy lives, just like I do. And I do think if I talked about both of them quite thoroughly, which they both deserve their own limelight, I think we could be sitting here listening. You could be sitting there listening to me for quite a long time. So I'm going to just choose one of them. But there has been two things that have happened in the business this week, which are just sad. Can I be honest? They're just sad. Like, you set up a business with all the right intentions, and what happens is you kind of put your heart and soul and your everything, all your being into it, and so many people around you sacrifice loads of other things to be part of the journey with you, and then things just come in that you have absolutely no control over, or just did not see coming, and just sweeps you off your feet, and not in a good way. Sweeps you off your feet as in takes the rug from underneath your feet, and you just suddenly think, my goodness, really? Why does it have to be that hard? So this week has been difficult, and I do really hope that in the coming weeks I've got more positivity to share, and it's not just all doom and gloom. But the whole purpose of me recording these videos is to share the reality from my perspective on what it's like to own and build and grow a business. So before I get into the detail a little bit more, I just want to quickly go through the figures with you. So every single week you guys really help me hold myself to account on different kind of activity levels that I'm doing within the business. And it really gives me a great opportunity to reflect on how much activity I've actually put in that week, because I love and live and breathe this business, and it's all about, for me, every day I want to achieve something. I think that's the entrepreneur in me. I always want to push forward. I don't really believe in standing still. I like the shiny new, oh my god, what's coming around the corner that I can get involved in. That's absolutely my mindset. So every single day I like to achieve something. So this week has been one of those weeks that has been full of achievement. I have been out and about and done such a variety of different things, focused internally as well as externally. I've been on the road at the later part of the week, and at the beginning of the week I was in the offices with my team, dealing with some pretty tricky internal stuff as well. So basically, dramas, we've had two. So one of them I'm going to share, the other one I will give some time to in another video kind of moving forward, because I do think it's important to share that one as well. And again, that is quite a vulnerable and open and honest one. Like, I really want these videos to be like totally truthful. And that other example, I think other people who are listening to this, watching this, will be like, my God, no one really talks about it as honestly as that. So I will share it further down the line. Belly laughs. I've been around so many people this week. Like, I've been everywhere. I think I've probably been around maybe about 70, 80 people this week. But I've been kind of jumping in, meeting people, doing what I need to do, and then coming out. And I've not really, apart from one meeting that I did have at the end of the week, where I sat down and had some lunch with a potential client, one of my contacts from Old. I haven't really had time to really relax and kind of take it all in. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind of a week. Not that I'm saying that it hasn't been enjoyable. It has been really enjoyable, the majority of it. However, I haven't really found myself throwing my head back and my mouth wide open and let out a little screech, which I'm kind of known for, which I actually really enjoy. Internal meetings, I've had 4 hours worth of internal meetings. I've had my end of month meeting reflecting on the previous month, and with our team targets, with our BHAGs, our big, hairy, audacious goals. We've had a meeting to talk about all of our individual clients and what we're looking to do and what we're looking to achieve for those guys, and what the performance has been like in the previous month for those clients. And we really had an opportunity to kind of everyone pull back together and really make sure that we were on the same page in regards to needing new clients, retaining the clients that we've got, and ensuring the profitability of our business, which is the three things that still are the key, the main things that our business needs to concentrate on. All the other stuff, no, we need to shelve that. I think I mentioned in one of the videos beforehand, we used to have 11 projects going on at once. We just took our eye off the ball because we were just chasing the completion of 11 things rather than really focusing on the things that really mattered to the business. So those things of new clients, client retention and profitability of the business have to stay consistent, and they have to be the things that all of us, every single one of us talent heads, needs to be able to be concentrating on. Outside normal hours, I've done between 3 and 4 outside of normal hours. I went to a networking event one evening this week. It was really interesting. Again, because of these videos, I've really started to really think about what I'm doing and how I'm using my time and what I want to be able to share. I could probably share that networking event with you as well, maybe further on down the line. But that was a room that I'd never been part of. I'd been invited to attend that networking event a number of different times. And actually, I'd said no for different reasons. I think I had responsibilities, other things I needed to be doing. But I chose to go this week, and it was really interesting. It reminded me of why I set up the business and why I want our business to be different to other businesses that potentially look like they do the same thing or offer the same service. But maybe that's one for a future video as well. Networking events, like I say, I did that one, and I did a really great one with the Chamber of Commerce. And anyone who is looking to establish a business in the Northeast, or anyone who has a business in the Northeast, for me personally, the Chamber of Commerce is excellent. The service I get from the Chamber of Commerce is just amazing. Tim, massive shout out to Tim. He lets me know when there's things happening that maybe I might have missed. I've built a relationship with him and some of the others at the Chamber of Commerce to be able to add my contribution and share my experience and really kind of position ourselves as kind of leaders within the area that we're in and seen as experts within the area that we're in. And the Chamber of Commerce do some amazing events. There was Channel 4's chief exec presenting a couple of days ago to the rest of us business owners, business leaders, talking about the kind of the strategy around Channel 4, and it was dead interesting. And the room was full of just brilliant people. And I think kind of 4 years down the line of owning Talent Heads, I definitely feel like my network is just getting so much more, like, it's so supportive. Like, genuinely, I walk in there and I feel like if I was having a bad day, I could literally have a conversation with someone at one of those events and share very openly and honestly about how I was feeling, and they wouldn't judge me and they would help me. And I sat next to one of my really good friends, Natasha, on that event as well. And it was just lovely just to hear how her business was going and just to share some of the things that were coming across from kind of the current market and stuff together, and just know that we're not alone. And I got a lovely text message off her on the evening as well, just basically saying it was nice to see her and nice for us to spend some time together. It was really lovely. And those Chamber of Commerce events just get you in a really big room in some cases with some really good businesses, and they teach you stuff, which I will always believe is one of the only reasons I go to networking events. One, I go because obviously from a brand perspective and from a contact perspective and, you know, building new relationships and networking. But two, it's about, is the speaker, is the person who's there, is the event that I'm going to, is it going to bring any value? Am I going to learn anything? Because I absolutely love learning. The Chamber of Commerce are great at getting great speakers in so that you can kind of take something away and kind of put it into your business. So it was a really good event. So I had 2 networking events. Interesting conversations. I had 3. Like I say, I had maybe 4 or 5 different individual meetings last week or this week, and they were really good to be able to hear what is happening out there for different businesses. And actually, I'm hearing that some businesses are struggling a little bit. You know, the budget that was released at the back end of 2024 has had an impact on people making decisions, and the supply chain of services and products has felt the impact of those kind of slow decision making choices, and it just feels a little bit of trepidation around what is going to happen and what's next. So I've been hearing about some businesses saying, you know, decisions aren't being made quick enough, which definitely we're finding. Some potential clients that were in the mix have fallen out of the mix because they need to try and find money for something else elsewhere, and they've had to kind of reduce some of their commitments. I've heard that, but I've also heard about some businesses growing and pushing forward and still looking to recruit and still looking to develop their team members, and that has been great. I've had a massive variety of different people I've been speaking to this week with different stories. I do though feel like that there is a little bit at the moment, a little bit of hesitation, and for small businesses like mine, that hesitation is quite scary, if I'm honest, because if other people are hesitating, it's going to have a knock-on effect on our business, and actually that knock-on effect is something that you just can't plan for, and sometimes you can't control. And also, yeah, I'm going to share a little bit again about what happened this week, and that does help with that worry and that kind of concern about where we're going and what's happening, and how you can influence a business that needs to grow when other people are making decisions around you that will impact the business. Family commitments. I failed this week. Do you know what? I put this in originally when I wanted to set up this video because I really wanted to kind of be kind to myself and really talk about the balance that we all have when we have families, or even pets, or we have home lives as well as work lives. And I really wanted to kind of share that, how challenging personally I found getting that balance right. So this week I was supposed to be taking my eldest daughter Maddie to the dental hospital to get her braces changed, but actually I'd already committed to doing a full day's training on recruitment and retention with one of our current clients. So it was a commitment I'd made. Maddie's appointment came in second. My husband Paul rescued me on that one, the drama triangle. He rescued me. He went and took Maddie to that appointment. And also Limay felt ill as well. So my second daughter, she felt ill during the week as well, as I was delivering this training in this external venue to our brilliant client who's been a client for a number of years, to their leaders. The school was ringing my mobile saying that someone needed to go and pick up my youngest daughter too. So big shout out to Paul Spoors. He has been holding the fort back in our house over this week. And yeah, I failed. But I don't want to say, the word failure sounds a little bit harsh. I couldn't balance it. I just couldn't balance it this week. But hopefully next week will be better. Dedicated learning hours, I've had 3. Like I say, I did a networking event after hours one day this week, and that was an event that was focused on business owners within my sector, and we covered some areas that actually were only of interest to our sector, and actually there was quite a lot of learning. We talked about legal, we talked about accounting, we talked about people, we talked about barriers to growth. There was quite a lot of learning that I took away from that session. Okay, so right, back to the theme then. The theme is, I've kind of called it here, big fish to little fish. So it makes me want to do a cardboard box after that. But when I first set up the business, I genuinely thought that the way that that talent heads would grow would be by gaining big clients quickly, being able to charge them a retainer and work with them longer term because they had more potential, more income to be able to spend on different services. And therefore, I thought that my ideal client profile was a big business who was able to almost give a smaller business a bit of a leg up, give us a bit of an opportunity for us to grow and work in partnership, and we'd learn absolutely loads because usually those bigger businesses had been around for a long time. There might be some things we can pick up along the way. We've had 2 big businesses, and when I talk about businesses, I'm talking about thousands of team members. I'm talking about multiple sites and offices. I'm talking about multiple £1 million turnover businesses, and usually they've been in the kind of around, like I say, for a longer time. We've had 2 of those businesses who have worked with talent heads since I set up 4 years ago, And both of them, unfortunately, have really let us down. And I just think I'm all for, and anyone who knows me knows this about me, I will always take full accountability when it is my problem. And I think I do it too much, if I'm honest. That whole let them thing from Mel Robbins, I talked about it in one of my previous videos. I've had to learn just to let people crack on when I haven't got any say or any control over it. So I'm absolutely all up for owning if myself, talent heads, my team member, my family, anyone that I'm associated with has done something wrong. I will own it and I will be honest, and it will probably hurt me more than it'll hurt anyone else because I let things get through a little bit too much and I care a lot. However, most recently we had our biggest client is a big client, and that client has been working with us since around about September of last year. We had a 12-month contract with them. It was a contract where basically we would offer learning and development solutions for them. We have been in their internal recruitment team and did a cracking job. But this contract in particular was a learning and development contract. We were delivering a leadership development course for 12 months. We had signed agreements with this client. So on Monday, I'm sitting at my desk in our Morpeth office, beavering away, getting caught up with everything, getting everything ready for the week ahead. And I receive an email that basically says from one of my team members, "Have you seen this?" And I scroll down the bottom and it's an email from the procurement team in this big business that says, "With immediate effect, we're terminating your contract." What? Like, seriously, what? So as I've mentioned, and anyone who knows me, I can be a little bit emotional. Yeah, my husband will probably say I'm quite a lot emotional, but for 2 seconds, I just stopped, took a deep breath and thought, how? The feedback's brilliant. I know the client's really happy. My team member loves working with that client. Everything that we agreed would be what good looked like, we have done that for this business. It just must be a problem. There just must be a little miscommunication. This can't be true. Bearing in mind, this is the biggest pot of revenue that we take on a monthly basis from any of our clients. So I forward it to our contact and I say, "Contact, I'm sure there's something not right about this. I'm sure it's just a miscommunication, but please can I leave this with you? Can you have a look at it? It looks like your procurement team are trying to end our contract with immediate effect, and I've not heard that there was any kind of issues or anything like that." The client rings me straight away. "Oh my goodness, I did not know about this. There's been some changes within the upper kind of levels. We've got some people who have joined the business, who have taken responsibility for our sites. And I do know they're trying to go through a cost-cutting exercise, but I knew nothing about it. As far as I'm aware, we still need your services and you're doing a great job." I'm like, right, okay. Oh my goodness, what is happening here? One of my other team members, who is the head of our learning and development function within Talent Heads, is now liaising with procurement and saying, "How come we've got a 12-month contract? We haven't got any issues. Everything's fine. Like, what is happening?" And basically, procurement just come back and said, "Well, actually, we've got a contract. Your contract with us, the one that you sent us, that is signed by our contact, is void because when you set up your supplier agreement, you agreed to our terms of business, which says that we can immediately terminate your contract." And the disappointment is unbelievable. And I just couldn't believe that we had an agreement. We have spent money on our legal contracts. We want to make sure that our clients are secure, we're secure, we know exactly what's happening. And a bigger client has written into their supplier kind of onboarding details that anything that is signed between a business and the contact within their business is void because we are signing, as we're signing up, we are agreeing to their contract instead, which means there is no notice needed. They can go immediately and say, we don't want to work with you anymore. We're not working with you anymore. And that's what they chose to do. So our contact, so not just my contact, but the contact who was working with one of my team members to deliver this leadership development program, doesn't know who is going to be able to deliver this to delegates now. There's a huge hole in the workload that needed to be delivered for it. So there's going to be lots of people internally who are really disappointed because they thought that they were going through this program that is no longer going to be available to them. But actually, the impact on our business is huge, because immediately that revenue is gone from our bottom line. And I had forecasted that obviously for the rest of those 12 months. So in my head, I knew I could pay my team. I knew that that had capacity to be able to deliver that in the way that we agreed we were going to deliver that with the client. Everything looked like it was secure and safe. And literally in 24 hours, that contract was gone. So I think it's really interesting, because I've once, one of the other networking events that I go to, and another kind of forum that I'm part of, is the Entrepreneurs Forum. I've mentioned it a couple of times in my videos as well. And that too is a brilliant forum, especially if you are an entrepreneur. That's what it was for. But it does really kind of help you build businesses and scale businesses. It's fabulous. But I've been to a roundtable event where there was about 12, 14 business owners in a restaurant. We have food, and then a speaker, another entrepreneur, shares their journey and talks about what it's been like for them in their business growth. And it's brilliant. I love it. I love hearing how other people have grown businesses in our region. And one of the ladies who I sat and listened to speak, her name's Nagma, and Nagma owns a business called Prima Cheese. And Nagma was talking about how she had found that bigger businesses, while she was growing, were also not great businesses for her to be doing business with. And I remember being like, oh, what? I'd love for us to have a big business that we could then have revenue coming in, that we knew was guaranteed revenue. We knew that they would be a partner for longer because they had more disposable cash, all of those great things we'd learn from them, all that sort of stuff. And I remember Nagma saying, no, bigger businesses tend to dictate the terms, which this client who has finished our contract, now terminated our contract, they said to us that they wanted to pay within 90 days. We were like, we're a small business. That's going to ruin our cash flow. They said, right, okay, well, let's negotiate. Let's do 60 days. Our usual terms of business are 7 days. I was really, really reluctant, but because of the size and the promise of the opportunity with this business, I said, right, 60 days is fine. And actually, they didn't actually pay until 90 days. So on Monday, when this message came through, I went back and had a quick look at our debtors, and this business actually owed us £34,000. So Nagma, sitting at the Entrepreneurs Forum dinner a few months ago, might be even a year ago now, talking about the terms of business agreements for larger businesses when working with larger businesses. And when she was talking about the dictation of, a bigger business might dictate a little bit more about what they're, how it goes, and that they're probably not as interested in a partnership approach because they've got lots of suppliers, and they are cracking through a number of different things. They've got a bigger scale, they're a bigger fish, really. So that kind of how quickly they pay their suppliers, how they interact with them, how much they appreciate them and stuff might be different to smaller businesses. And I remember her saying this, and I remember thinking, God, I'm going to take a note of that. I think she's got a point. But we did it any case. We followed, I was going to say that we followed the revenue. We didn't. We followed the internal ambassador within that business, who is our stakeholder, is amazing, and she's fabulous, and she's a values match for us at Talent Heads. I think we've known her for years, and I think we'll know her for years to come. She's brilliant. But actually, she's part of a big business where, unfortunately, sometimes she doesn't get a say. Sometimes the red tape pulls her back from being able to make the decisions that she would have made if she was in a smaller business. So unfortunately, that big business mentality has really let us down. And when we've been going back to procurement and saying, we're a small business. Can you give us a month's notice? Is there anything you can do? The service is still the service is still required. It's still needed. We've committed to this. We've got the headcount. We've got the capacity to be able to deliver what we said we were going to deliver. They've just shut us down. And actually, not even just shut us down, they still haven't paid the outstanding invoices. So actually, I think this one's a bit of once bitten, twice shy. And they always say that if you trip over a rock the first time, that's fine. If you trip over a rock the second time, fool you. So actually, I think that's something that just we need to be mindful of. So really kind of wrapping it up, I just want to say it's a bit scary out there at the minute for some smaller businesses. And I do think that some bigger businesses, there will be smaller businesses that will do stuff like this as well. There are definitely some learnings to be taken away. This is not necessarily about big fish, small fish, but definitely in my personal experience and hearing from other business owners as well who have got smaller businesses and grown businesses, just be mindful of terms of business, be mindful of what you're agreeing to when you sign up to the supplier agreement. And if your gut tells you that it's not a good partnership, it's not going to be, everything's all on their terms and they're not meeting you halfway and they don't appreciate what it's like to work with small businesses, maybe it's worth sacrificing the revenue for a bit of sanity and a bit of happiness and actually a bit of control, because you do need that control when you are responsible for paying people's salaries, that puts food on the table for their families and keeps a roof over their heads. You don't want businesses who can keep pulling out the revenue by just literally clicking their fingers. Okay, that was a massive blah. So thank you so much for listening. I am so interested to listen to these back in a few years' time. So it'll be funny just to remind myself of what we've been through. But yeah, once bitten, twice shy. Just be super mindful. If your gut tells you that that's not your ideal client, terms, working partnership, sign off, just question it. Just take a few more seconds before you sign on that dotted line, because I really would hate for other people to receive an email like that in their inbox and their whole week just to go completely south. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Thank you. Take care.